Do you trust your crypto assets to centralized exchanges that actively sell your private information and front run your trades? Would you like to buy and sell your assets without any middlemen, intermediaries, or robots? Do you like paying slippage, fees, and having the price go up as bots steal from you on low liquidity decentralized exchanges? The solution is nodemarket.io. Set your guaranteed buy or sell price. No middlemen, no slippage, no bots ever. Buy or sell 1, 10, or even 10 million tokens, and you never have to worry. OTC trades are between you and the seller or buyer, guaranteed by audited smart contracts and no human middlemen. Nodemarket.io.
I still have Cardano. I still believe in it a little bit. The littlest bit that you can believe in something. That's how much I still believe in Cardano. Anyway, yeah, there's that. Okay, today, you know what? I didn't put this little banner up. I should have. Let me do this banner because today, at some point, we get to it. We're going to talk about what the truck is D-pin. That's right. You can tell that to your friends because there's no curse words involved. I was going to have a badass new camera today. I could show you it. It doesn't really work yet. A lot of settings. They don't make it easy. They even give you a phone app and they say, ooh, adjust all your phone settings on the phone app. Do you want to know what settings it lets you adjust? The time. Like, I can do that with the little buttons on the phone, but all the other stuff, no. It makes you do that on the phone, clicking those stupid ass buttons. Like, what a dumb design. Bro, if you made a whole app so I could set the time, then your app developers are dicks. Like, what else can you set? It's like a bunch of useless settings. It was so ridiculous that I was like, I couldn't believe I spent the time downloading that stupid ass app and going through this whole process. Oh, pair your camera. Why? So I can set the time. Wow, what an amazing shortcut you've made in my life. Here it is. It's a creators app. Bull crap. Oh, you get some cloud storage. You can showcase your work. You can access service requests, and you can update your camera's software. But none of that stuff is actually managing the camera. None of it. Let's see. Operate your camera. You can turn on a remote shooting button. Whoa. Whoa. When you go to camera settings, because this is awesome, right? Camera settings and let you can be able to do all sorts of stuff. Let's see. Connect to Wi-Fi. That's an amazing setting that it lets you do. Let's see what else. What other amazing settings? You can pair and unpair. Whoa, pairing and unpairing. Imagine the technology. Imagine the things I can do. And let's see. I can transfer notification settings. That is not anything. Oh, and setup, you think, oh, maybe you'll set up the camera. You'll set up the way it looks, the way it focuses, bokeh, all that kind of stuff, and the aperture. You can set up the camera's location, date, and time. That's not camera setup. None of that stuff is important, man. It's probably money I just wasted. Anyway, whatever. That's my rant. That's it. That's all I got. Has nothing to do with crypto. Anyway, yeah, there's that. All right. Hopefully some of you had a Bitcoin pizza day. I was going to get pizza yesterday, but I felt so bad for Laszlo looking at his sorry butt with his kids that are, they're all poor, unfortunately. Maybe someone donated to him or something, I felt bad for him. It's not his fault. He didn't know. No one knew. If anybody had known, they would have bought all the Bitcoin. They didn't, so they didn't know. But, man, it's tough. Tough. Let's see. Where were we on our salutations? Yeah, that's it. That's all you get. I'm not really mad about anything. It was weird to see Bitcoin drop kind of precipitously this morning over the last couple of hours. I wonder why that is. I mean, there's never any one reason. There's usually many reasons. So we'll see. We'll see going into today. Obviously, that bill, our favorite bill, did make it through. And just real quick, let me go over something. I was having a talk with GPT-4o yesterday, and I was looking at the pluses and minuses, a game theory analysis of this bill, of this Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act. And so basically the players involved are the CFTC, obviously, the SEC, A16Z, and the Blockchain Association are supporting this bill. They're looking for, everybody is, right? Well, not everybody, a majority. It's fair to say a majority because it's a majority. But they're looking for support. House Republicans and Democrats both push it through. The House, it went through pretty big, like big. So we'll see what happens with the Senate vote, but I would imagine it will get through. It'll be contended a little bit, but anyway, and then the other players are the investors. And so essentially the CFTC is going to gain, or they would gain, regulatory clarity over decentralized cryptographically backed assets, cryptos, potentially expanding its influence and control because they would be the crypto assets. And I'll read the kind of little details, but they would be treated as commodities after a certain point where there's no one entity that holds more than 20% of the tokens, which makes sense. Sorry, Ripple. Okay, then you have the SEC, which regains control over non-decentralized digital assets like XRP, protecting its current regulatory domain, and they get to do their same shenanigans. But they can't make laws. They have to actually use the laws that Congress put into place because, Constitution. Anyway, the blockchain associations that are supporting the bills are just looking for regulatory clarity. They want to foster innovation, but really they want to protect their investments. They don't give a crap about innovation. They don't give a crap about any of us at all. A16Z doesn't give a crap about anyone but their own investors and their own pockets. And you can see that in their behavior in the past. I don't know. Back in the day, Andreessen Horowitz was awesome, and now instead of pronouncing it correctly, Horowitz, it's just Andreessen Whores, because that's pretty much what they've become. Anyway, and then you have the House Republicans, Democrats, and while there was a bit of bipartisan support. I had the vote numbers a few hours ago that were kind of interesting, but there is still some division, but you had I think you had 70 something Democrats come across and vote for it, which is pretty cool. 70, 71, which is pretty cool. But yeah, but their concerns were market stability and investor protection, and basically Elizabeth Warren saying, but I thought you guys do what I say. And they were like, no, we don't really, you're old and gross and you don't know what's going on around you. And you have perverse incentives. All right. And then the investors like us and the issuers like companies that issue assets. and they benefit from clearer regulatory environment, which right now is very uncertain. And so, and even when this goes through, there's still 365 days for the CFTC and the SEC to put out kind of their systematic approach to dealing with all this. So that's going to be, I think it could leave us like a year-long bull market. Anyway, we'll see. And so remember, that's on the heels of what's going on tonight. Obviously, it looks like we could get a decision in the ETF by 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific, or sooner, but most likely right at the edge. So the strategy of the supporter strategy is essentially advocacy and lobbying, as well as like highlighting the innovation. So basically the advocacy, I'm not talking about the ETF, we're talking about the bill again. Essentially, groups like Blockchain Association and A16 whores, they are essentially trying to influence lawmakers by emphasizing the benefits of clear regulation. That does make sense. Like, what are the rules? Like, just let us have the rules. We'll start there. Supporters would argue that the bill promotes technological advancement and economic growth. Then there's some holdout, mostly Democrats. Hi, kitty. There's some holdout Democrats that are saying, hey, wait, there's potential legal uncertainties and investor risks, and we should leverage traditional security laws, from like the early like the late 1800s, the early 1900s. Like, come on, man. I don't know if that makes sense. If like rules from like, 1933 and 1934 are fit for purpose anymore. And then they would also say that they want to highlight the dangers of weakening SEC oversight. And then I would argue, well, you'll save the taxpayers a lot of money, because right now the only danger is that every time the SEC goes to court, they pretty much get their ass kicked. The only victory the SEC had is like clear, corrupt thieves that got caught stealing and Ripple. Everybody else, they've been beaten. They've either been beaten on appeal or they've been beaten directly. So essentially, the bill's passage, at least the second level of its passage, hinges on this kind of coordination game where these little different factions within the House, they've already aligned, but now they got to call their homies over at the Senate and be like, okay, come on, today's the fight. And given that this thing passed with a lot of bipartisan support, at least, when the hardest hurdle, the dynamics of it are now kind of like a prisoner's dilemma game, right? In game theory, where both parties, but Republicans and Democrats can cooperate, and there's a benefit there, clearer regulations and innovation. And for the Democrats, it makes it where this is not an issue that voters would switch sides for. They don't want some exodus, is my guess. But anyway, both parties also, you could say that there would be some temptation to defect, to protect your traditional regulatory structures and protect investors and all this. But that's fewer and fewer people, after seeing the less than glamorous record of the SEC in court and all these Wells notices. I also talked to GPT about the Wells notices, and it was interesting. It said that if this passes the Senate, it's likely that most of those Wells notices are moot, or that these companies will just simply say, hey, the legal landscape's changed. This Wells notice doesn't mean anything anymore. So if it passes the Senate, remember, it's already through the House, but if it passes the Senate, the CFTC would gain power through clear jurisdiction over decentralized assets. And I'm going to kind of quantify that in a second. There would be market clarity because you have probably a better investment climate for blockchain projects. Yes, there'll be some frauds and scamminesses, but the CFTC will go after them. And then you would say, well, the opponents to this would say, hey, we need to have vigilant oversight and prevent fraud and and, manipulation during this transition, like the in-between time. The in-between time could be messy, but it's likely to be messy in a bull market. If it got nuked in the Senate, which I can't see that happening, but, maybe, then you would have continued regulatory ambiguity. Supporters could, regroup and take another shot at a future legislative attempt. But anyway, kind of in summary there, the decision-making process for the FIT 21, which is Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, reflects all these kind of strategic interactions between stakeholders, investors, hedge fund managers, investment facilities, senators, congressmen, candidates. It's become a politicized thing. And it would directly impact. I mean, if this thing goes through, it's the beginning of the bull market, like straight up. Yeah. So essentially, the kind of main thing is that this bill puts forth is if a cryptocurrency's blockchain is decentralized, meaning no single person or group controls it more than 20%, okay, it would be regulated by the CFTC. If any group controls more than 20%, the SEC would regulate it. If a cryptocurrencies or a crypto assets blockchain or data structure, it's not just blockchain, it could be data structure. If it is not decentralized, meaning it doesn't fall with, so like in a Ripple situation with the XRP token, it would be regulated by the SEC. And I think probably everybody at Ripple is like, dang it. Because there's still no arguing that they control the escrow there. So they're still stuck there. Anyway, and this bill also sets specific rules about how much control one entity can have over a decentralized blockchain. And they look at they would look at insiders and people within the company, and they would look at distribution schedule of the token, all the kind of tokenomic things that we look at, they would start looking at. Also, interestingly, this may make it tougher for people to do things like token mergers and things like that maybe recently we've seen. Something to think about. Of course, there's a year for this to go into effect. So we'll see. Kind of interesting, but the benefits could be for cryptocurrency investors like ourselves, clarity and stability, right? Clear regulations make it easy to understand the rules and reduce legal uncertainty, which sucks. Safer investments, a more structured regulatory environment obviously will protect investors against fraud, market manipulation. People like Scam Bank Run Fraud Chicken and Alex Mashinsky. I have 100 millions of my own monies. Mashinsky, the Do Kwons of the world, all the creeps, all the douchebags, all the, I don't need to keep naming them. You guys know who they are. Most of them are locked up. Anyway, for regulators, it would define jurisdictional limits. So regulators would have clear kind of guidelines and approach on which assets they oversee, and would reduce confusion. It would be the SEC and the CFTC would be better at enforcing rules and maintaining market integrity if they stayed in their lane, I guess. So yeah. And what you would do, say, well, how do you really determine the 20% control over a decentralized blockchain? Like, what does that examination process look like? Well, some of the ways they might do it are blockchain analysis, obviously, ownership disclosures, voting power examinations, and audits and basic company reporting. So those companies are going to have, they're going to have reporting requirements. But essentially the blockchain analysis, you could imagine regulators using basic blockchain analytics tools and partnering with companies. And there's a few of them, Chainalysis and things like that go and do analytics all over these different ledgers. And so they could create tools to track and analyze the distribution of tokens, and also if those tokens are pooling somewhere. Also, if one or two people actually have control through a bunch of indirect wallets of enough of an asset to be a 20 point anything or more percent holder. So the tools that they use to analyze blockchains and distributed systems can identify large holders and also create it can create connections between wallets that might seem like, people can think they're being clever and they're like, oh, I'll just transfer my tokens to a brand new MetaMask wallet. Yeah, well, but if you transferred from, like, say, one of your other wallets, the Ethereum, to fund the MetaMask wallet, it would go look at that and go, this guy owns both. Let's say his name was Luigi as an example. And then Luigi, as an example, used those tokens that he just transferred into the anonymous wallet to then pervert the voting in, say, I don't know, any kind of vote where you might have, I don't know, like a token merger or something like that. Yeah, like that. And then you would get caught. Like Luigi's are like to do. They get caught a lot because they're mostly stupid. Anyway, so then you have ownership disclosures, which issuers and affiliated persons will be required to disclose their holdings and control. Just like in the stock market, any owner of over, I think the bar and the line in the sand is 5%. But if you have 5%, you have to make regular disclosures about your ownership stake in these various assets. So I don't imagine it would be any different in digital assets. So this would help regulators assess if any entity exceeds the 20% threshold, or if like 6 dudes that are all buddies have 4% each. Yes, that is also ownership control, and they would look into that, and they would look into collusion and market manipulation. So a lot of the little scammy things that a lot of these douchebags have been getting away with, I think this is the beginning of making those days over with. They might have about one more year of Wild West. There you go. And then you have voting power examinations. So for distributed systems with governance mechanisms like Cardano, proof of stake, right? Like legitimate proof of stake, not this bullcrap they have, not proof of snake like they have over at DPoS over at Ripple, but actual proof of stake where people participate, stake pools validate transactions, and you have elected representatives. Anyway, when you have real governance mechanisms, regulators can look at voting records and participation to see if any of the entities have a disproportionate influence on the ecosystem. So that would be something too. And then basic audits and reporting. So regular audits, mandatory reporting would ensure that there's ongoing compliance with the 20% rule, and that companies are not, or individuals are not, quietly loading up on the sidelines, working together in collusion. So, yeah. And at least there'll be some punitive phase. So someone can't go and pull a scam and be like, like, well, okay, wait for that indictment. Because now that there would be clarity, it's not going to be as easy to pull shenanigans. And for the rest of us, we don't have to stress about the SEC going and laying Wells notices at every single company that in any way, shape, or form touches crypto as part of this choke point 2.0 bullcrap, this Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler dummy farming that they keep doing. Anyway, so it will clarify jurisdiction. The bill will delineate clear lines between CFTC and SEC regulatory authority. If certain digital assets are reclassified under CFTC jurisdiction, it's likely that previous SEC actions will become less relevant, meaning companies that receive Wells notices from the SEC over the last 6 months or whatever, they're now considered commodities. Well, then they would argue, hey, we're commodities now, therefore either reevaluate or dismiss this Wells notice. Matter of fact, just dismiss all of this. I'm sure there's going to be some transition period where companies are given time to comply with whatever the new rules are. And during this period, enforcement actions related to previous ambiguities could be paused. They could be reconsidered. So courts and regulatory bodies probably need some time. They would probably revisit some past cases to align with the new legislation, potentially rendering some enforcement actions moot. if they no longer align with the updated definitions and rules. So, yeah. And I think this would boost the crap out of investor confidence if this gets through, which I think it will. There would be kind of a breath of fresh air. You would have, and then you also remember you have the convergence of this potentially over the next few days and the Ethereum ETF at the same time. And so you say, okay, that would be a pretty good little whirlwind. That'd be a nice little synergy. So then you say, okay, think about increased institutional participation. If you have the approval of an Ethereum ETF, which provides a regulated and familiar investment vehicle for institutional investors, coupled with clearer regulatory frameworks, which leads to, you would imagine it would lead to significant capital inflow from the institutional players that have been waiting on the sidelines, looking at all this regulatory murk and uncertainty. So now you would have market legitimization, both the legislative clarity from the FIT 21 bill and the Ethereum ETF approval that signal that cryptocurrencies, at least a few of them, are becoming more integrated into mainstream financial systems. And this legitimization can enhance trust and participation from a broader range of investors, even eventually grandma in her 401k, if she has one. It would likely increase liquidity and market depth because the Ethereum ETF would probably lead to increased trading volumes and liquidity. I mean, on the other side of it, it will make the Ethereum available on exchanges less illiquid, the more Ethereum that ends up in the coffers of ETF issuers. This is an issue that we will tackle soon, and this is why I believe there will be a follow-on or knock-on effect of really pushing the layer twos. Anyway, this seems like this would make all of this market, this entire place, more attractive to large investors. It should reduce some volatility and promote at least the perception of a more safe and robust market environment. And then, with regulatory clarity, these different projects can innovate without the fear of suddenly getting Wells notices and being shut down. And so that, combined with the influx of new capital from an Ethereum ETF, and then people hunting for the next big thing, could substantially drive growth and maybe even lead to new technological advancements. More money, chasing more projects. So I think that's going to be cool. So, now you're up to date on the FIT 21. So yeah. All right, let me get down and see if I missed any good bits. Okay. Let's see. Where do memes find a place? Will they be gone? Well, memes have been around forever. I'm sure there was heckling a-holes making sketchy meme shirts when Shakespeare or whoever Shakespeare's were doing their plays. It was look at Shakespeare's an idiot. Yeah. Today is it says pumpkin spice. I don't know, man. Doesn't smell pumpkin-y. It's sweet and delicious, but that's just the cream. No, there'll be some meme bullshit around forever. Think about all the NFT craze, but that was all stupid meme crap. At least there was a little artful angle to it. It's funny because all of the NFT people are like, no, NFT is legitimate. This is the legitimate stuff, artwork and all that. Yeah, and 1% was legitimate artwork, and the rest of it was a bunch of crap. Just people trying to just scam people out of cash. Well, now they're looking at these meme coins that took all their liquidity away, and they're like, that's bull crap. It's all fake. Yeah, dummies, the same fake that you guys were. What is it? Fake recognizes fake? Come on, man. Bunch of douchebags. All of it. Douchebags. Does FIT 21 account for Uniswap? Yeah, the Wells notice that they got, it would make that issue moot. I don't think it's FIT 21 to an extent, and it's both. It's the ETF also. If the SEC allows the ETF to go through, especially today, then that's it. Ethereum is not a security. Done. The discussion's over with. So this has become political. And this is what happens when things get political. Ooh, nice. Let's see. Got out of your position yet? You got out of AGIX at 106. It's good. That's a good exit. With uncertainty surrounding ASI, I thought it'd be the best move. Yeah, I mean, you probably do fine. I'm not getting out of anything unless I have a better swap ratio, which I don't see yet. But it's nice to be over $1. And for those of you that didn't watch yesterday, we talked about taking your rules-based exits on a regular basis. Please do that. Don't leave your money in the market and just let people with maybe less than clear motives and agendas hold your financial welfare in their hands. So if you have an asset that has reached some pretty good milestones, like 106, I'm sure, Greenfield, that you got into AGIX at less than 10 cents. I would guess. Therefore, well played. You might have gotten in at 3 or 4 cents. That could be your 20x. I don't know. But rules-based exit. Rules-based exit. Yeah, till out, man. Don't we want the volatility? No. Why do we want volatility, Chris? Or why would someone want volatility? Ooh, nice. So do that in your brain, people. 4 cents to $1. What? Remember, 80 cents is a 20x. Oh, like 25, 27x, something like that. That's pretty badass. Ooh, Bill, nice exit. Let's see. No, we don't want volatility unless we're traders. We want less volatility, and because that creates tighter bid-ask spreads, and then you don't see these vacillations in the net asset value of your portfolio going way up and way down every 13 seconds. Right? That's not probably healthy for anyone. And this kind of volatility gets people punished. Of course, the leverage traders, the dummies, the Binance leverage, and all this kind of the crap, these a-holes are not thinking about any of this. They're like, oh man, we're going to get so much volatility. It's going to be awesome. No, they're going to get perpetually wiped out every single time, over and over and over, because that's what happens. None of these idiots make any money. It's the worst. I don't know if I told you this girl that knows less than nothing about crypto. It's not that she's a girl. It's just that she knows less than nothing about crypto. She had messaged me one time. She's like, when was this? This was a few months ago. Bitcoin, the ETF thing. She was playing leverage because she watched some stupid video on YouTube that I told her not to. And she was like, she had watched one of the shows, and I was saying that people that play with leverage are stupid. And she's like, I guess I'm one of those stupid people you're referring to because I made like $12,000 today. I said, cool. Well, wait till the end of the day before you message me. And I just said that as like kind of an off the cuff comment. So the price of Bitcoin then dumps about 4,000. So I know she got whacked. I know that she got liquidated, and gambler's going to gamble. So I know she got liquidated for everything. Haven't heard from her since. It's been months. One text in 6 months, nothing. So easy come, easy go. She crypto nerded, Pepe 3X leveraged her way out of everything. It is what it is, folks. Play with leverage, you get whacked. Let's see. We're not seeing it go beyond the 0.41 to 0.42 range. Yeah, I mean, if you're just getting out, if you're at a point where you got to exit, just take your exit. Who gives a crap about the conversion rate? If you plan to stay in the asset, the conversion rate makes sense. There's going to be a lot of people that wait to convert and immediately sell. So you may want to factor that in. And if this token, everybody was thinking, oh, the AI coins are going to get a boost. Even Brandon talked about it. AI coins going to get a boost yesterday. Nothing. They sold off a little bit. Not much, but they sold off a little bit yesterday. It didn't work out. And NVIDIA turned in a whopper. They're crushing it. That company's a beast. Well, let's take a real quick look at the market before we talk DPIN. Hold on, it didn't log me in. Let me go here just for a second. Look at my wonderful background while I try to figure out why this thing's not logging in. It logs you out of Live Coin Watch a lot. I don't know why that is, but it is. Okay. So let's see if this is better. Okie dokie. Where are we? Oh, Bitcoin sold off a little bit. Ethereum got up to 3,900, but Bitcoin had a bit of a recent, look at that. Ouch. Ouch. Which is not really ouch. That's tiny. It looks like an ouch, but it's 2.8%, which is dust. What else? Interesting. Ooh, punishing. AI tokens are getting punished. Render is not an AI token, but tokens that claim to be AI tokens getting punished today. Not punished. 6% is not that bad. Arweave. It's the most ridiculous price action. I love the company, but price action is incredibly suspicious. Okay, so the alts are kind of taking a general beating. You don't know how much this is people preparing for an ETF decision one way or another. I mean, I think maybe it's some of that. And mostly there's no good definitive news that really points you in a direction you just don't know till you know. Well, I'd say when, but we still have to say if this bill passes the Senate in the next day, today, or the next day or two, and we get the ETF decision today at 1 p.m. Pacific by 4 p.m. Eastern. I don't imagine a word. I mean, there could be some short-term sell the newsy crap, but my guess is the market looks a lot more positive than it has. I guess that's the way I would frame it. Let's see. NVIDIA has a 10-for-1 stock split. Yeah, because they're over 1,000, right? Makes sense. The Southern District of New York announced the Gemini lawsuit settlement, and earn users will get their funds returned, followed up with Gemini is banned from New York with everything in New York's banned. You gotta Web3 everything, fellas. A lot of stuff's been buggy. Even Ethereum, the Ether scam was being weird. I was sending out tokens to all the digital private clients today. We did our distribution for Hypercycle, and we did our distribution for Sophiaverse. I just kind of put them all together because I was in front of the computer. I figured I'd knock them out. And because digital private clients got in early on those, as they did on Twin. So anyway, I'm sending those out, and about every other transaction, it just said failed. And then when I would refresh the screen, surprise, surprise, the transactions went through. So don't resend a transaction. I'll tell you what I did that kind of helped me avoid the snafu. I opened up MetaMask on my phone, and I actually looked at Etherscan, my wallet on Etherscan, publicly available. And then I would do the transactions on my computer, and even though it said failed, I would look on Etherscan, refresh the screen, and if I saw the transaction went through, it went through. So don't keep sending transactions. If it looks failed, it may not have failed. Get a second opinion. So go to Etherscan on another device or refresh, things like that. So I used the 2-device system, worked. So that was cool. Let's see. Any other news? Hyperrings are coming, which I hope to be able to use as a 2-factor authentication device I want to do that for my MetaMask. So I want to use the ring to be my 3FA, my 3-factor authentication. I think that'd be awesome. And hopefully Coinbase and things like that will allow us to use that as well. So then they'd have to steal my phone, steal my eyeballs, and lop my finger off. If they could even find my ring, I might hide it somewhere else. Anyway, but not anywhere gross. Jeez, heads out of the gutters. Okay. Do you guys all understand what DPIN is? Do you know what is DPIN? Not deep in, like, no. DPIN. DPIN. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, well, good. Then that makes today incredibly appropriate. So we shall talk DPIN. Let me go to my little brand thing, and we're going to rock and roll. You're going to hear the term come up. It's like RWA, real world asset. And like, oh my God, RWA. We got to be investing in RWA. Mother effer, what do you think Bitcoin is? Like, come on, man. Don't be so damn basic. Anyway, let's get into it a little bit more.
Hello. You're late.
Ooh, you're late.
You're bad at math, but I'm giving you an A+ in confidence.
Just doing what I gotta do.
Extra credit.
Okay. DPIN. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Brace yourselves for some exciting DPIN. It stands for Decentralized Physical Infrastructure Networks. D, decentralized, like DeFi, DPIN, Physical Infrastructure Networks. And it's relevant because in this interest of renaming things to make them seem new, the idea is that this could be a good one. We are infrastructure investors mostly. And so the idea of physical infrastructure networks represented by decentralized finance kind of makes sense. So DPIN combines the ideas of decentralized finance, DeFi, with physical infrastructure projects. So like using blockchain-based systems or distributed systems or cryptography and cryptographically backed assets and decentralized networks to create and manage physical infrastructure like communication networks, energy grids, transportation systems, power systems, things like that. Could even be like cell phone systems. So it's kind of cool. Let me put my comments on so I can see. Oh, no. Get the good buttons here. All right. Okay, yeah. Fake world assets. FWAs. Anyway. So to understand DPIN, we need to obviously grasp the concept of decentralization, which gets sloppy and thrown around all the time. Traditionally, most infrastructure is centralized. Even most crypto infrastructure is centralized. It means that a single entity, like a government or a company like Ripple, a large corporation, controls and manages the infrastructure. For example, your local power company controls the electric grid or electricity grid, and a telecommunications company or mini controls the network you might use for your cell phone or your mobile device or mini, like even your phone, right? You get your watch, your phone. I have separate cell service in my watch. That way I can wear it into the movies and I can still participate in the outside world because movies suck these days. Although I say that, and I am kind of excited for Furiosa. But anyway, we'll see. So decentralization flips this kind of old school model on its head. So instead of a central authority, one central fat, rich white dude in the middle, a rent taker, so to speak, a decentralized system relies on multiple participants who work together to maintain and operate the infrastructure. And you might say, oh, that sounds kind of like hypercycle and that whole distribution of nodes. Yeah, interesting, huh? So in a decentralized network, decisions and control are distributed among many stakeholders, which make the system more resilient and less prone to failures or corruption. And you can have degrees of this, different degrees of governance and things like that. But so say, okay, but how does DPIN actually work? Imagine a telecommunications network, but instead of being owned and controlled by a single company, it's owned and operated by a community of users, kind of like a DAO-ish. The users can be individuals, they can be businesses, they can be other organizations, and they all contribute to the network by providing resources like internet bandwidth or computing power, as an example. In return, they receive rewards in the form of crypto assets or cryptocurrencies. Cool, right? Starting to sound like some cool stuff that we're already involved in. They just put new labels on things. Anyway, the tokens are managed using blockchain-based or distributed ledger technology. In the case that they need a ledger, might be a little old school. A blockchain for those of you that are still grappling with this, it's a distributed digital ledger, like a bank ledger, that records transactions in a secure and transparent way. It can be data mined, it can be viewed, it can be parsed. It ensures that everyone in the network can trust the system without needing to go to some central authority to verify transactions. Basically, you can do transactions with people you don't trust, that you think might be Byzantine. They won't be able to steal from you. So this is, again, I said this a couple of days ago. You hear blockchain a lot. Not every crypto asset is a blockchain-based system. There's all sorts of different distributed data systems. And this is more about data. It's just sometimes money is data. It's a kind of class of data, but this is all about distributed data systems. So what is the significance in the cryptocurrency industry of these DePIN projects, right? These decentralized physical infrastructure networks. Well, it's probably more interesting in the crypto space as we move into AI also. But the principles of decentralization beyond just digital finance and into the real world have a lot of applications, especially if you think there might be some alignment or safety issues as we move into a more AI world. But even on the basic level, by applying distributed systems or blockchain-based technology to physical infrastructure, these DePIN projects can create new economic opportunities. They can improve efficiencies, especially real-time payments and micropayments that might allow better communication, handshakes, and transfer of information between, agents in the system. And so so you say, okay, I get it. How it would impact the regular world? How would it impact the crypto world? Well, it could be increased adoption. It could increase investment opportunities, improved security, improved transparency. So from an adoption standpoint, as more people and businesses see the benefit of decentralized infrastructure, they're more likely to adopt and use cryptocurrency and other kind of blockchain-based and distributed, data structures, because they say, oh, okay, well, cool. This is doing like regular stuff. It's not just nerd money, right? So then you say, okay, cool. Well, DePIN projects offer new ways for more traditional investors to participate in infrastructure development, which could potentially lead to increased funding and innovation in and around crypto. So that's kind of cool, because the more money that comes in, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And then you have improved security and transparency. Blockchain-based and other distributed systems, that technology enhances the security and the transparency of these infrastructure projects. So remember a few weeks ago, we were talking about they were paying people that had a bunch of property to not light their trees on fire. We're talking about the scamminess of carbon credits. They're like, don't have people tear your trees down, and we'll pay you to not deforest your forest. They're like, okay. And then they would take money anyway. They're like, oh, I decided to take both money. But anyway, by having a system like this that can be more real time, you do reduce the risk of fraud and corruption, graft greed, and sloppiness, and you just like straight up crime. So the significance of these DePIN projects goes beyond just cryptocurrency, because it has the potential to transform the way that we manage infrastructure globally, especially just visually, the way we see infrastructure management visually. So there are some key areas where DePIN projects can make a pretty significant difference. So telecommunications, energy, transportation, which those are all good, solid, salt of the earth, infrastructure plays. On the telecommunications side, these DePIN projects can help create community-owned and operated internet networks, especially in rural or like really unserved areas or underserved areas where they don't have a lot of good infrastructure. And so it can improve access to information, to communication, to schooling, education, medical recording, things like that. On the energy side, imagine you had like a decentralized energy grid where all of the households and businesses can generate and share electricity using solar panels or other renewable resources. This is kind of happening for people that over electric their house and use extra, like they get all the extra battery walls you can get, and then they sell back to the grid. So it's kind of happening in reverse. But you could see some decentralized projects like this. Anyway, this can lead to more sustainable and resilient energy systems that don't all collapse at night when everybody plugs in their stupid cars. And on the transportation side, these DPEN projects could support the development of decentralized transportation networks like ride-sharing services or electric vehicle charging stations. And that would make, obviously would make transportation much more efficient and much more accessible, which again, people should be able to get across town, go to work and do the things that they do. And so then you start thinking about that. You start thinking about there's all sorts of benefits to like society and economic benefits. So by decentralizing infrastructure, you could empower communities to have more control over their own infrastructure, leading to better services tailored to their needs, to their culture, whatever. You could reduce costs, right? The cost of building and maintaining infrastructure by eliminating the need for the fat, rich white guy in the middle that collects rent and does nothing else. The lazy rent taker. And you could promote more innovation, right? Like, so you could encourage innovation by allowing people, or at least more people, to participate and contribute. And then obviously, and on the other side of it, like to both contribute and benefit from infrastructure projects. So this can lead to new technology and solutions that address a lot of the current kind of weirdnesses and frictions that exist kind of in infrastructure and infrastructure management, and then how like people interact with that. So DPEN sounds cool, some definite benefits. There are some challenges. There are technical issues related to scalability and interoperability. There are regulatory hurdles, although some of those could be sorted out in the next few days. There is the need for a full-on push towards widespread education and awareness. And yeah, I mean, for any of these DPEN projects, my guess is, my imagining is, it starts in small, like villages, small towns, rural areas where there's a clear need for assistance, and people are willing, like when you're kind of hopeless, if someone gives you any kind of hope, you'll grasp it, or you'll at least latch onto it. So I do think that these decentralized infrastructure plays, these physical infrastructure networks, they represent a really cool approach to infrastructure development and spending that leverages the power of decentralization, distributed data systems, all this cool technology that we're coming up with. And while it is still an emerging concept, you're going to see this get flashed in front of you a lot. Oh, this is a DPEN thing, the DPEN thing. Do your research. It could just look like a shiny toy. It could look like the next bumper sticker. Be careful that you don't get sucked into a bunch of these projects that have, just idiots for developers and stuff. Like if it's somebody that came from the real estate space and there's no blockchain chops, that's no better than a bunch of bankers trying to say that they're going to change the world of RWA by selling crap to DAOs, right? Which, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yes, there is potential to kind of have a pretty significant phase shift between both cryptocurrency industry and the broader world of infrastructure. So just kind of grapple with that in your mind, and kind of think about how it could make things more efficient, more equitable, potentially more innovative, and yeah, that's DPEN. Woo woo. Okay. What might be some? Well, just look them up. You don't need to ask me. Ask Google. Ask the Googles. Give it a Google. I haven't seen any projects that look that interesting. None of them yet pass the 5 T's, but maybe you'll find something that does look cool. I had thought a while back, my buddy and I had thought, wouldn't it be cool to go build a solar farm in Puerto Rico where they have a lot of problems with outages and do that in a decentralized way. This was before there was even the word DPIN. We didn't even know what that meant. And this was in, this was March. Oh, this was March of 2018. That's when we went, wasn't it? Yeah. It was March of 2018. Yeah. So back then we were talking about this kind of stuff, but it just seemed like such an overwhelming project. And you were just get so far down the line with so many no's that we just eventually just thought about that. The reality was it's just probably too early. And you could get agreement from everybody on the ground. It was like, I love electricity, but you're never going to get regulators to say yes. Cause they're like, I don't know, man. I don't know about your digital doodads. Like money's already digital, bro. Anyway, stay in school. Don't do drugs. Don't do anything my poor, insolvent, drunk, strung on a meth grandmother or Brandon does not do, wouldn't do, or can't do. I don't know. Oh, he said there was a freeze warning or some kind of crap like that. Oh, man, that sucks. It's gonna be nice and warm here. It's gonna be a pool day today. Otherwise, see ya.
Are you tired of all the uneducated noise you're getting from the droves of YOLO meme coin peddling douchebag gurus out there trying to use you as their exit liquidity? Would you rather learn a competent university level set of skills that will guide you in managing and investing for the rest of your life? Join us 3 days a week at Digital Investor. Develop your knowledge of game theory, cognitive bias, macroeconomics, monetary theory, investment theory, psychology of the crowds, and more. For more info on Digital Investor and how it can help you, reach out at nickblacknext.com.